Okay, so let's begin. I'm going to ask you a question, but we've talked about different diets so far. I want you to, in the chat, let me know what were the common things that you noticed in most of the diets that I showed you, especially the Mediterranean or the DASH or the MIND diet or the vegetarian diet. What did you notice was common? So if you notice, as the pyramid gets smaller and smaller, the sweets and the added sugars and the meats and the we're getting less and less and less, right? And the vegetables we're getting more and more and more, and plant-based proteins we're being more. Exactly. So the whole point of eating healthy or medical nutrition therapy, yes, calories are very important, but because I'm in the health aspect and in the medical nutrition aspect, I believe your overall health should be as good as your weight should be. You know, if your goal is weight, you should also try to maintain health. So today's focus is all going to be about proteins, but getting back to what you've said, you've noticed a lot of vegetarian options and more plant-based proteins, and that's important because vegetarian eating patterns or more plant-based proteins, they have shown lots of health benefits, including lower risks or lower levels of weight for most people who are eating more plant-based proteins. There's lower risk of heart disease, lower blood pressure, lots of other benefits. And those who tend to consume more vegetables have lower portions of calories overall from fats. They also tend to have lower calories in general, more fiber, more potassium, more vitamin C. So these are amazing health benefits. Now, getting back to our little plate that we talked about last time, our plate needs to have, you know, if we ate this, if your plate looked like this with each meal, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, then you're probably eating in the right, the way any diet is supposed to be followed, having more fruits and vegetables, and then shrinking up the portions of your grains and your proteins. Now, today's focus is going to be more about proteins. And like last time I asked you about carbohydrates, what foods do you think have proteins in them? And just put 2 or 3 answers in your chat, please. And I'm talking about all types of proteins, meats and plant. Okay, chicken, eggs, lentils, nuts, milk, perfect. Eggs, beans, tofu, Greek yogurt, perfect. So yeah, so protein group is one of the biggest groups in the food groups, and they're all smashed into one little corner, unfortunately. And one of the things you'll realize is a lot of diets out there and a lot of health promotion information, they promote protein, high protein diets. They also promote protein powders. And then you probably are thinking, then why are the protein groups stuck in that little corner? Most foods that we eat today have enough protein to get you by. Most of us, if we're eating pretty healthy, even with reduced portions of meats and proteins, you are going to get enough protein that your body needs. You don't necessarily will need a protein powder. So what are the right portions? So if you are just going to go by your plate, then quarter of your plate. If you are not sure if the plate isn't the way you want to use, okay. So the portions of your the meats should be the palm of your hand. The thickness should be the thickness of your pinky. So the thickness of your pinky. So if you're thinking of a little hamburger, the thickness should be the thickness of your little pinky finger, and the size should be the size of your palm. Or if you're someone who likes to weigh your meat, it's 75 grams. So the protein food group consists of meat proteins. If you see here, it's either 2.5 ounces, 75 grams, or half a cup. Now, there are many ways you can measure this. I prefer using a measuring cup because measuring cups, everybody has them, and it's one of the simplest ways to use them. So half a measured cup of proteins is about a serving or a palm size or 2.5 ounces or 75 grams. Now, most meats have about 21 grams of protein in them. The next highest protein food after meats is legumes. So legumes would be things like chickpeas, kidney beans, soybeans, even peanuts come under legumes, all kinds of beans. These are one of the highest amount of protein and highest amount of fiber foods that are probably sitting in your cabinet and we're not really utilizing them. So a 3/4 cup of bean is has almost the same protein of a meat, maybe 5 grams less than meats, but in general, most legumes, about 3/4 cup, have about, I would say, 15 to 16 grams of protein compared to meats, which have 21 grams in that portion. Now, the other proteins are tofu or soybeans, and 2 servings of eggs can be counted as 1 serving of a protein. So if you go on any of the diet charts that I've put out for you, if you're going to follow them and if it says 2 servings of proteins, then you know what 1 portion is. So 2 eggs can be 1 protein serving. 2 tablespoons of peanut butter is also included as 1 protein serving. And then we have nuts and seeds. About 1/4 cup of nuts and seeds would be considered as 1 serving of a protein. Okay, so that's a pretty large group.